there, my name is Travis Bowman. I'm an international award-winning fingerstyle guitar player, and today we're going to take a deep dive into a wonderful song by Stephen Bishop. This is called Little Italy. This is such a great song. It's a real joy to play, and I'm very excited to teach it to you. So without further ado, let's zoom in a little bit on the guitar and we'll get started. First things first that we need to talk about before we start barreling into this tune is the tuning. So on the album Careless, he's actually tuned a half step down from normal standard tuning, so that would be E flat standard. In this case, we're going to go ahead and tune our guitar down to D standard. So that's a full step down from standard tuning. So instead of an E string, I've got a D string right there. So this is my E chord here, but now it's a D chord, right? So the reason for doing that is that we're going to follow along with a live performance that Stephen did in Japan in the early 2000s. So we're going to jump through this tune, we're going to learn each individual part, and then at the end we're going to do a play along with that video. So that's our reason for being in D standard tuning. So going forward, we're going to pretend that we're in standard tuning just to avoid confusion. So if I'm talking about the E string 2nd fret, we're talking about the bottom string right there. Just to avoid confusion, let's pretend we're in standard tuning, but in actuality we are tuned down to D standard. So let's go ahead and get tuned up and then we'll get started. Okay, so right off the bat, we're going to have some big thumb chords here on our left hand. So this is the main part of the song. It's the intro, and of course we go back to it several times in between the verses and the chorus and whatnot. So it looks and sounds just like this. It's a really lovely, really nice lick. So it's actually a G chord that we're starting with here. So index finger on the 3rd fret of the B string, and then right here, middle finger is going to be on your G string 4th fret. That's a really nice G chord with the D string intact as well. So I believe Mr. Bishop plays this with a pick, and then he does a little bit of maybe some hybrid picking here and there. But for this example, I'm a fingerstyle guitar player, so we're going to do this completely fingerstyle. But if you want to be authentic, of course you would need to use the pick and do a little bit of that hybrid picking. We're going to start with this shape here, and we're going to pick the entire D, G, and B strings together, moving up to the 5th fret with these 2 fingers here, followed by the beginnings of an A minor 7. Again, we're still doing the D, G, and B strings here. And we're going to slide that up a full step. I'm on fret 4 here and then 3. So all together that looks like this. Now it's important that you're kind of slippery with this lick, meaning that that really adds to the song. You don't want to be robotic with that. That's what we want right there. So let's talk about the lick that comes right after that. So that's an open G string, and there's our 4th fret on the D. And here's the beginnings of what would be a C major chord. So that's open G. And then it's a hammer off from this 4th fret D string. Hammer on to the 2nd fret D string. And then we're going to pull that off after we play this note there on the A string. So once again, really slowly. And this first little group of notes is pretty quick. So that's going to take some practice. But all together, this is what that sounds like. Okay, before we stray too far from this intro, it's important to note that this is actually a 2 guitar part harmony on both the album and in this live video that we're going to watch at the end of this video. So we know Stephen Bishop's guitar part sounds just like this. So this lick, there's a harmony to that at the end that a second guitar player performs. So that lick goes like this. Kind of the same style here of this hammer-on pull-off stuff. So we're on the G string 2nd fret, pull off, and then our 4th fret here on the D string, G string. So, and then we're going to go 2, 4 on the D string. This is just kind of like a bonus for this video in case you have another guitar player friend that wants to join you on this song. It's actually pretty fun to play together. So now what I would like to do is have this main lick play in the background. And I'm going to go ahead and play that harmony lick on top of it. And then we're moving our way to the verse, and we've got this chord here. It's a beautiful sus chord there. So it's a partial bar here on the last 2 treble strings, B and E, and then we've got the D string and the G string on our 5th fret. Now, Stephen Bishop is known for coming up and grabbing those bass notes with the thumb, but for this particular instance, we're going to leave the thumb out. So this is the chord that's kind of in between that intro lick and the beginnings of the verse. And I'll go ahead and play that verse for you real quick so you can see what it looks like, and then we'll jump in and learn it together. It's a lot of chords that are changing quickly, but the theme of this song that's going to really help us out here is a lot of these changes actually go hand in hand with the vocal melody. So when we're starting out, that first line is, "Can't you hear the parade?" It's mirroring that, "Can't you hear the..." So, "Can't you hear the parade?" And I'm not a singer, you have to forgive me for that, but just to give you the context of the song, that's around the same time we're pulling off this G chord here. And we've got this note here on our 1st fret. Okay? So that next chord is just an E minor 7, if you will. So here we go. Now that's a tough one right there. This is just your regular D chord, but again, Stephen Bishop really loves those thumb chords, so he's going to come up and actually grab both of these strings up here, but our main goal is to grab the B string, or the B note rather, on the A string here, 2nd fret A string. And that's going to turn this simple D chord into a nice B minor 7 type chord there. Okay? And, you know, if you want to be authentic, that's the way to do it, but not everybody can get that thumb all the way over there like that, so you would have to do a chord like this. But again, you've got a lot going on with these sus chords that he likes so much. So let's start from that G chord, E minor, and there's another little lick on on the G string there, from this D chord, we're going to use our pinky on the 4th fret. So that's on the G string, 4, 2, 0, and then D, 4, open G. So once again, that's doing that sus chord, sus 4. Okay, and the next part, we're just really quickly going between some common chords down here, C major, D, after that A minor, so C, A minor, and back to this original sus chord that we did earlier. So I'm going to play through that for you really slowly, starting with the sus chord in the beginning. And again. And again, that's really following that vocal line. Up on the sidewalk. Okay. Now we're moving on to the chorus, and again, we're still following that pattern of following that vocal line with our chord changes and everything. First thing we've got here is a big bar chord there, so we're barring the entire 5th fret except for our E string. And this is going to be the chord that's starting off our chorus. And this chord is going to start vocally with And what we're doing here, we're going to walk up chromatically from this D note here to an E minor 7. So that would be E minor 7. Dancing in the street, little, back to this chord again, Little Italy, and then right back to that. So one more time, we've got this chord here, walking up on the 6th fret, so we're going 5, 6, and by the time we get to the 7, that's going to be the root of this chord right here. So once again, and there's our next chord. Very similar shape to this one, only we're getting rid of this note right there. And that's going to be an A major chord. So we've got this, and then back to our bar chord for Little Italy. Little Italy. Okay, so once more. Of Little Italy. Oh, dancing in the streets of Little Italy. Okay, so after the chorus, he's going to go back to the verse a few times there, and then the solo section. Instead of doing this multiple times, this chord here, he's just going to do it real quick and then right back to that lick for a little while for the solo. And then we're going to take a completely different turn to the bridge, or what I like to call the Italian section. It's completely different key here. So we're in G-ish down here, and we're going to start this with a beautiful D major 7 chord, or D major 7 triad down here. So that's my 6th fret G string, followed by our 7th fret there on the B, and then with a D in the bass there. Okay, so let's go through this chord progression real quick. So we've got this D right there, and then this chord So we've got a bar. There's multiple different ways that you can do this, and I've seen them do it a couple of different ways. We can do a full bar here on the 6th fret, and we're trying to get the 7th fret there on the B. So that's D, major 7, followed by this minor 7 with an extra note there. And you can do it like that with the full bar. You can get that thumb chord going to where you've got your 6 on D, 6 on G, and then pinky there on your 7. And that next chord after this is the same shape, but we're moving it down to the 4th fret. And then after that, we've got just a simple G bar chord. And you can do it just like a bar chord, or you can do it what Steven does, and have the partial bar down here, followed by your thumb up top, moving that down to an F sharp. Okay, let's not get too ahead of ourselves. Let's start back from the beginning. So we've got this D major 7, followed by the bar chord, or the thumb chord, and then move that down to the G sharp-ish position, and then G. Okay, so the melody of that, and there's another guitar player that does this on this video that we're going to do together. Okay, these last couple chords there, going from a G major to an F sharp, B minor, actually, a full B minor bar chord instead of this. And then we're going to lift off to get that A, and we're barring across with our F sharp right here on the D string. And the last chord here is a beautiful, it's an E7 with an F sharp on our E string down there. So once again, this bridge, then we're right back into this chord here. We're going to build this up to get right back into the verse, and then we've got some, like a vocal solo on top of that for this video. So we've got, and he's going to come all the way up here and just kind of slide back down to get into the verse. And then at the very end of the song, he's going to hang on this chord for that last chorus. And then the next chord we haven't done yet, but this is again just building up into that last G chord. We're going to do a D7, and you can add that F sharp in the bass there. That's just some harmonics on the 12th fret again, that D, G, and B string. And then we're going to fret the 3rd fret here on that last string and come up and find the 15th fret. And we're going to use our index finger to place it right over this harmonic note, which would be on that 15th fret there. And we're going to use our thumb to come behind it and pick that harmonic. So that looks like this. And there you have it.
And she with the parade Somebody's calling my name. They're on the sidewalk and all the people turn their heads to see our mama. Am I holding on to the wings of a prayer, waiting for Rosie to tell me, do you think she cares? Oh, dancing in the streets, little Italy. Oh, they're dancing in the streets, little Italy. She says, I'm an old woman and you're old enough to live your own life, and stay out of the bar rooms, boys will see you with our clowns. I've heard Rosie, she's got a rainbow around her shoulder. You better not lose her, buy her flowers, make her heart sing. Ah, dancing in the streets, little Italy. Oh, they're dancing in the streets, little Italy. Oh, dancing in the streets, little Italy. Oh, they're dancing in the streets in little Italy.
And there we have it. That's Little Italy by Stephen Bishop. Such a great song. I really hope you enjoyed this video lesson, and if so, feel free to check out my YouTube channel where you can find a lot more guitar-based videos, including tutorials just like this one. And if you're looking for a more personal approach to guitar instruction, feel free to check out my Patreon account where you can sign up for guitar lessons with me personally. Thanks very much for checking out this video, and we'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.